Hey, there we go. Back to good. All right. So we got the membrane of the cell. We got the mitochondria. We got the ER. We got the nucleus. Nucleus has an outer and inner membrane. The outer membrane is consistent with the ER. The other structures that we have are the Golgi. The Golgi has a cis face and a trans face. And then sure enough, now, if those of you who will have me for lab, I'm going to pull that model out that's in 2221. It's a cell model. It's something like this. It'll have those structures. Matter of fact, be right back. We'll do it here. It's all right. So we got plasma membrane, mitochondria, ER, nucleus, Golgi. Okay? The only other thing we got to talk about is these ribosomes. And we know that DNA is in here. And from DNA we make RNA. And RNA comes out into the ER. And if the ribosome is associated with the ER, then I'm going to make RNA, I'm going to make protein. That protein is then going to get shuttled to the Golgi. Golgi will modify that protein. Sure enough, the protein gets traveled through this vesicular system. So the proteins are chaperoned. Everybody know what a chaperone is? No. Because that's like old school. Chaperone is like, you know, you go out and somebody's got to go with you. All right? That's like old school stuff, right? Like, yeah, all right, yeah, you can go out with this guy, only if your brother goes with you.
What's in the middle?
Protein.
The protein. So it goes DNA in the nucleus to RNA, and then the RNA leaves, and then the RNA goes into the ER, and if the ribosome's there, it'll make protein. Protein will then get shuttled along to the Golgi through this vesicle. That vesicle will then ultimately move through the system, out of the system, so that the protein can be modified. When that protein modifies, it then, I made the membrane too big. So let's just draw it as one single line. The vesicle will fuse and the protein, the modified protein will be released. That's one option. Everybody hear me? That's a calcium dependent event, guys. You all hear me? So why do you need to know chemistry? Because the ions are playing roles here. When you talk about muscle and nerve, it's sodium and potassium that we're going to use to manipulate these cells to do what they designed to do. For all cells to take whatever they're making and to release it outside, you're going to need calcium to come in at the very end. So you're going to need something to trigger the membrane to open, and the membrane opens through a protein that allows the calcium to come through. When that calcium comes through, this ball that's filled with protein will go to and it'll release. Well, sure enough, guys, the same thing that I drew on the board is the first thing that you got to remember when you go to 2086 and take endocrine. Because every cell that's in your brain that's releasing hormones into the bloodstream is doing it by the same mechanism. Does everyone hear me? So you see, the method to my madness is that I'm trying to prepare you for the next. Yes. Question? Someone had a question? Question. You had a question? I'm sorry? Oh, so the ribosomes, their job is to make the protein. They'll act as a. Okay, so let's. I'll give you another example. So ribosome. What the ribosome does is it acts as an assembly stage, or like an assembly line. So what it does is it sets up, and we'll get into this. I don't want to get too into it because remember I just jumped to chapter 3. I want to go back to chapter 1 and 2. But in chapter 3, the ribosome is two separate pieces and it sticks together. Then the RNA gets squashed in between, and in that process, then we're going to make protein from it. You got me? So that's why you need the ribosome. The ribosome is a large unit, a subunit. They come together, whoop, and now it's a set stage. Perfect. Now all we need is the code. Put the code in there, and then amino acid by amino acid, we'll read the code and we'll stick an amino acid to amino acid, we'll make protein. That's the short and skinny of it. Yeah? This is why you want to come to class.
right? Because I can synthesize all this stuff for you. So why is it important to learn about cell in chapter 3? Because you sure enough, if I'm, now watch, 2085.
Bone. Bone is made up of calcium phosphate, right? But it's not just calcium phosphate. It's also collagen. So it's like, I'll give you another example. You guys see all this construction in Miami? How can you not, right? If you've really ever noticed the construction, are they putting up concrete walls? Like just concrete and there's stuff in it and that's it? No. What do you see that they're doing? They got big old pieces of what? Structure, steel. They call that rebar. Yeah? Bone's the same way. You can't just have the cement. You got to have the cement with the reinforcement. You got me? The calcium phosphate with collagen. Did everybody hear me? The collagen is a protein. This protein isn't inside the cell. The protein is outside the cell. So sure enough, is this the same mechanism by which we get protein outside the cell? Everybody understand that? If I'm a protein that's going to stay in the cell, I'm not doing this. Everybody hear me? If I'm a protein that stays in the cell, I'm not doing this. Because this is only going to put me near the membrane, on the membrane or outside the membrane. Everybody got me? So, all right, wait. So remember we were talking about, let's go back. Let's go back to chapter 1, chapter 2. Remember we were talking about that it all starts with atoms, right? And atoms are made up of matter, right? Everyone agree? And atoms make up molecules, yes? And those molecules make up, they make up compounds. And with those molecules and those compounds, then finally I can make a cell. And then from cell I can make tissue. Yes? Guys, you see that word compound? What's protein? Complex compound. Everybody see that? It's a complex compound. It can be quite a complex compound. So I'm going to put IE, proteins. Well, sure enough, am I going to have protein inside the cell, guys? Will I have protein inside the cell?
Yes.
Everybody look up. Will I have protein inside the cell?
Yes.
They say, yes. Will I have protein on the membrane of the cell?
Yes.
Everybody say, yes, absolutely. Will I have protein outside the cell? Yes, absolutely. You understand that?
Yes.
See how important it is? DNA, RNA, protein. DNA, RNA, protein. DNA, RNA, protein. And that protein is either going to be in the cell, on the membrane of the cell, or outside the cell, guys. You understand that? That's anatomy and physiology. Understand? That's anatomy and physiology. Structure and function. Okay? So, any questions so far? And this serves you, not just for now, but it serves you in 2086 when you do endocrine. Because you're going to have to know this to then be able to understand what's going on with the endocrine system. Yes?
What's the name of that process when you release protein?
Yeah. When it releases it, exocytosis. That process that I just illustrated for you, thank you for, it's called exocytosis. And exocytosis is a calcium dependent event. So guys, do you see now why I need bone? Because I told you bone is made up of calcium phosphate, yes? You see why I need bone? Why do I need bone? Because bone is made of calcium phosphate and I need calcium for?
For everything.
For exocytosis.
Okay.
Separately, what else do I need calcium for? The electrical physiology. I'm sorry. Yeah. The electrical physiology of heart muscle. The muscle contraction for all muscle. Exocytosis. I need it for blood coagulation. Right? And I need it to make bone. So 5 reasons why you need calcium. This is the only way that we could walk up out of the primordial ooze and onto land and become terrestrial.
was figuring out a way to deposit calcium into our system from our external environment. Because if I go back into the ocean, is there a lot of calcium in the ocean?
No.
There's a shit ton of it. So much so that you find it in what?
Coral.
In the coral rock, in the living organisms of coral rock itself. You see? So, but we had to bring that with us because we couldn't walk up on the land without it. Otherwise, we had to go back. You understand? So we had to adapt. Yes.
Could you repeat those 5?
Yeah. I'll write on a board. So exocytosis is a calcium-dependent event. Well, sure enough, calcium is an important ion because there are 5 things that are required for you. 1, calcium is required again for exocytosis. It's responsible for bone. It's responsible for coagulation of blood. It's responsible for the mechanical event in muscle contraction. And it's responsible for the electrical event in cardiac. Pacemaker. Potential. All right. So there's a empty chair. There's a chair here if you need a chair. The chair. Okay. Yeah. All right. It's called as a squash. Oh, there's no one back there. All right.